Okay, let's take a look at this worksheet. I'm going to do a few problems right off of the worksheet. I want you to show your work, okay, on a separate sheet of paper because there's not enough room on the worksheet to show work, so you need to have a separate sheet of paper and show your work. You can transfer your answer onto the worksheet and then staple your work to the worksheet, okay? So that's how I want it to look. Now numbers 1 and 2, those are just normal. Set them up just like I'm going to set up these. Get a common denominator and get your answer. You may use a calculator to crunch numbers, but you still need to show work. If you want to use your calculator to check to make sure you got the problem right, at the end you can also type it in as a fraction and make sure that you did the work correctly. Okay, but work needs to be shown. I can't stress that enough. If your work isn't showing, then you're not going to get credit for it. Okay, because anybody can type these into a calculator and get the answer. All right, let's take a look at problem number 3. Okay, we have a positive fraction plus a negative fraction. Okay, so the rule is if you have a positive plus a negative, is we have to subtract. Okay, so I'm going to come up with my plan here, so I know I have to subtract. Okay, now I got to determine, is my answer going to be positive or negative? And the way I determine that is by finding which fraction is further from 0 on a number line. I can do that using cross products. So if I cross here, 2 times 3 is 6, and 10 times 1 is 10. Okay, now as a result, I know that 1/2 is further from 0 than -3/10. Okay, so my answer is going to be positive because 1/2 is positive. So I have to subtract, my answer is going to be positive, and this is the number that has to go up on top when I set this up. So now I'm going to go ahead and set it up here. So I'm going to put 1/2 on top, I'm going to put 3/10 on the bottom, I have to subtract, and my answer is going to be positive. Okay, it doesn't matter now, I don't have to put my negative sign with this anymore because I already determined that through the process here. Okay, so I need to now get a common denominator. The denominators are 2 and 10. I'm going to start with 10. It's the larger of the two denominators. Does 2 evenly go into 10? It does. So 10 is going to be my common denominator, or least common denominator in this case. This stays 3/10. Here, what times 2 makes 10? Well, 5 times 2 makes 10. So I have to do the same thing to the numerator. 5 times 1 is 5. So I've rewritten the fraction 1/2 to 5/10. It's an equal amount. We can double check it by cross products. 10, 10 when we cross multiply there. Okay, now don't get confused with these. And these have been changed already, so if you want to X them out so you don't get confused with them, you may. Alright, we have to subtract here, so we get 2/10. Okay, now that's not in lowest terms, that reduces to 1/5, and that is your answer because you determined it was positive. Okay, so it stays positive, and that's the correct answer to number 3. That's the work you should have shown or be showing on your separate sheet of paper. Okay? Alright, let's go take a look at another one. Here's number 7. Number 7 set up a little bit different. Okay, now we're subtracting a negative fraction. On this one, we want to do the process called adding the opposite. So if I add the opposite, I make this addition, and I make this next fraction its opposite. The opposite of -1/3 is +1/3. Now I have a positive plus a positive. Okay, and that's a problem that you can all do. So we just set it up. 4/5 plus 1/3. Okay, we have to get a common denominator. Our common denominator here is going to be 15. Okay, 3 times 5 is 15. 3 times 4 is 12. So 12 here. 5 times 3 is 15. 5 times 1 is 5. So 5 here. You can double check to make sure that you wrote them correctly by cross products. Okay, 15 times 1 is 15. 3 times 5 is 15. So that one's good. This one's a little harder to check because they're a little bit larger numbers. Okay, 5 times 12 is 60, 15 times 4 is 60. Okay, so with a calculator, you can check one if you can't do that one in your head. Okay, so now we have to add, so 12 and 5 is 17, so we end up with 17 over 15. Now that's an improper fraction, we gotta change it to a mixed number. 15 goes into 17 one time with 2 left. Okay, so 1 and 2/15 is the answer to that problem. Okay, let's take a look at another one. Here's number 13. A negative plus a positive. Okay, the rule here, we got a negative plus a positive, we have to subtract. Okay, so I'm going to mark that down, I have to subtract. Now I got to determine, is it going to be positive or negative? Well, which number is further from 0 on the number line? Cross multiply, you get 8 here, you get 18 here. So my negative number is further from 0, so my answer is going to be negative. That also tells me which number I need to put on the top when I set this up. I need to put 3/8 up on the top when I subtract here. 1/6 on the bottom, I'm subtracting, and my answer is going to be negative. So I set everything up, and now I just carry out my work. You got to get a common denominator. Okay, my common denominator here is going to be 24. Okay, both 8 and 6 evenly go into 24. Okay, 3 times 8 is 24, 3 times 3 is 9. 4 times 6 is 24, 4 times 1 is 4. Okay, once again, use cross products to double check. 24, 24, so I wrote that one correctly. Okay, this one's a little harder, 72, 72, so I wrote this one correctly as well. I need to subtract, so I take 4 from 9, that's 5, so 5, 24, so I already determined that it's negative. Okay, so my answer is negative 5/24 for problem number 13. Okay, let's look at one more. All right, let's go to number 23. Okay, this time we have a mixed number. Okay, and this one's a little different from the other. I'm going to add the opposite. So I'm going to change this to addition, this to its opposite. Now I have a negative plus a negative. The rule is add them up and your answer is negative. Okay, so negative 12.5. Okay, negative 17.5. I'm adding these up and my answer is going to be negative. Alright, I already have common denominators here. 1 plus 1 is 2, so I get 2/2. I add these two up here, I get 29. So I got negative 29 and 2/2. Well, 2/2, this is all negative, by the way. So this 2/2 is like a negative 1. Okay, so this right here would reduce to negative 1. So I'm going to take that negative 1 and add it to my negative 29, which would make it negative 30. So my answer to this problem right here is negative 30. Okay, take your time, follow the rules. There's rules right over on the board. Okay, you can change them if you need to. If you don't need to change them, don't change them. In other words, don't change subtraction problems to addition problems if you're subtracting a smaller amount from a larger amount. Just subtract normally. So you got to come up with a plan before you start doing these problems. Otherwise, they're going to give you trouble. Okay, we talked about this yesterday, but that's what it takes. Good luck.